A $500 million empire, a breathtaking French estate, and a legal battle that simply refuses to die. While the world thought the war was over, 2026 has just delivered a shocking new twist in the saga of Chateau Miraval. Brad Pitt is calling for peace, but Angelina Jolie just made a move that changed everything. Is this a ceasefire or the ultimate trap? The $500 million vineyard standoff. In the heart of the serene French countryside stands a $500 million business empire that has become the epicenter of Hollywood's most exhausting legal storm. Although their marital status ended long ago, the Chateau Miraval winery remains the final, unresolved battlefield between Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. As we move through 2026, this dispute is no longer just about corporate shares. It is a symbol of principles and pride being gambled before the global eye. The property, which was once a sanctuary of love and family protection, has mutated into a monument of complex and incredibly expensive litigation. It serves as a stark reminder that certain assets carry an emotional weight far beyond the numerical values written on balance sheets, proving that the most beautiful legacies can sometimes become the heaviest burdens to carry. Brad Pitt's search for a ceasefire. After years of pouring immense energy and vast financial resources into this legal war, latest reports in 2026 reveal a new side of Brad Pitt. The Oscar-winning actor is reportedly experiencing a profound sense of exhaustion from the never-ending conflict. Pitt is now actively seeking a path toward a ceasefire or a dignified compromise to end the tension once and for all. This desire for peace reflects the needs of a man who wishes to focus on his life's next chapter without the lingering shadow of lawsuits haunting his every move. Such a move is rare in the history of their public feud, suggesting that even the most determined warriors eventually long for silence after a decade of storms. It is a vulnerable pivot that highlights the human cost behind the high-stakes corporate maneuvering of Hollywood's elite. The shocking delay, Jolie's strategic move. Just as the horizon of peace seemed to appear, Angelina Jolie's legal camp executed an entirely unexpected maneuver. Instead of embracing the offer of compromise, Jolie's team formally requested a massive delay in their major trial schedule. The proceedings, originally set for February 2026, are now proposed to be pushed back until November 2026. This 9-month postponement has triggered widespread speculation among international legal observers. Is this a strategic move to provide more breathing room for preparation, or a calculated chess move designed to prolong the pressure on her ex-husband? This decision has instantly shifted the trial's dynamics and added a new layer of uncertainty to the Miraval saga.
It suggests that the final act of this drama is far from written, leaving the public to wonder what lies ahead. The fury of the Pitt legal camp. The reaction from Brad Pitt's side regarding the requested delay has been reported as nothing short of explosive. Pitt's legal camp feels that this postponement is a deliberate tactic to obstruct justice and weaponize time. They argue that every wasted month only increases financial losses and operational instability for the highly successful Miraval brand. For Pitt, time is the primary enemy, steadily eroding the possibility of a fair and swift resolution. This fury reflects the frustration of a business owner who feels his rights are being held hostage by prolonged legal procedures. The tension between the two elite legal teams representing the world's most famous ex-couple is reaching a breaking point, creating an atmosphere of heightened hostility that makes the prospect of a friendly compromise feel increasingly impossible. Miraval, from sanctuary to battlefield. It is a tragic irony when looking back at the 2008 purchase of the 1,200-acre Chateau Miraval estate. It was originally intended as a safe haven for their children and a symbol of a shared future vision. In these vineyards, they celebrated their most private and sacred moments, far from the reach of the paparazzi. However, that very soil has now mutated into a cold and calculated corporate battlefield.
This transformation illustrates how deeply personal conflicts can poison even the most beautiful physical assets. Miraval now stands as a bitter reminder that legacies built on love can easily crumble into subjects of power struggles and mental exhaustion. The estate's transition from a family paradise to a legal war zone is a poignant study on how fame and resentment can permanently alter the history of a place once meant for peace. The psychological toll of litigation. The psychological impact of a trial lasting nearly a decade cannot be overlooked for either party. Constantly returning to a courtroom means repeatedly reopening old wounds and processing emotions that should have been laid to rest years ago. For Brad Pitt, seeking a compromise might be a self-preservation mechanism to maintain his mental health in his 60s. On the other hand, Jolie's steadfast commitment to the long legal road suggests either a deep resilience or a profound lack of trust in out-of-court processes. The Miraval battle in 2026 demonstrates that the emotional cost of victory is often far greater than the monetary value of the property or the wine business they are fighting over. It is a grueling marathon where the finish line keeps moving, leaving both icons trapped in a cycle of high-stress litigation. The global business impact on rosé. Chateau Miraval is more than just a summer home, it is a major player in the highly lucrative global rosé wine industry.
This prolonged legal dispute poses serious challenges to the management and strategic direction of the award-winning brand. Amidst the ownership uncertainty and shareholder conflict, the business's international reputation is at high risk. Global distributors and investors are closely watching how this conflict will affect the quality and availability of their products in the future. The 2026 feud proves that celebrity drama can have massive real-world implications for business stability and consumer confidence in the luxury market. The stakes involve hundreds of jobs and a global supply chain, turning a private divorce into a public economic concern that reaches far beyond the hills of Provence. Looking for a middle ground in 2026. Reaching an agreement in the middle of 2026 will require an extraordinary willingness from both parties to set aside their egos for a greater good. The compromise sought by Brad Pitt likely involves a split of control or a financial settlement that would free both sides from binding legal obligations. However, the greatest challenge remains rebuilding the level of trust that has been completely destroyed over the last decade. International mediators are now facing the nearly impossible task of bridging a massive divide. If a deal is not reached this year, Miraval risks becoming a legal case study that will be analyzed for decades as a classic example of failed asset resolution.
The window for a peaceful exit is closing, and the world is watching to see if they can finally prioritize stability over continued mutual destruction. The role of international legal jurisdictions. The battle over Miraval is made even more complex because it involves multiple international jurisdictions, ranging from courts in France and Luxembourg to the United States. This legal complexity provides opportunities for lawyers to utilize various procedural loopholes, including the delay request filed by Jolie's team. Every decision made in one country can have a domino effect on the ownership status in another. 2026 is a crucial turning point where the legal systems of different nations will be tested to provide justice in a case involving massive financial interests and a high-profile public image. This complexity explains why the process feels incredibly slow and why the compromise Brad Pitt is seeking is so difficult to materialize quickly. It is a web of laws that keeps both parties entangled in a global stalemate. The final verdict of 2026: peace or war? As we move towards the end of 2026, the big question remains: will the Miraval dispute end with a handshake or the total destruction of their remaining ties? The request to delay until November suggests that the final chapter of this story is not yet ready to be written. If peace is achieved, it will be a victory for common sense and familial tranquility.
However, if the conflict continues, Miraval will remain an open wound, draining the energy of these two global icons. The world can only hope that both sides eventually find an exit that allows them to truly move forward, leaving the vineyard as a legacy of business success rather than a side monument of litigation for future generations. The ultimate verdict of 2026 will define whether they choose to be remembered for their art or for their unrelenting war.